If you want peace, it's only words without violence. Great examples are Martin Luther King and Gandhi. Violence creates violence again.
So the NGO Committee on Peace at the United Nations here in Vienna is a body which unites international NGOs who work for peace and disarmament.
Peace movements date back to the 19th century.
The first Esperanto World Congress took place in 1905, in line with Bertha von Suttner, the first Nobel Prize winner on peace.
Along with Dr. Zamenhof, who intended to contribute to peace by the invention of the neutral language Esperanto, there was Alfred Hermann Fried, a Nobel Peace Prize recipient, who later proposed
a system of peace without arms.
A second approach would be peace is an important issue in all religions.
The Soka Gakkai International SGI is a lay Buddhist association. We've focused a lot around nuclear disarmament.
Pax Romana is a global network of Catholic leaders committed to justice, peace and creation. It's also part of the international group Religions for Peace.
We have always been involved in reconciliation programs that have actually worked all over the world so far. All these, let's say, ideas have something to do with religion sometimes, but very often with the ethnic, let's say, background.
The third approach is what could be called internationalist, which includes just society, which includes human rights, which includes in nowadays also questions of environment.
A main goal of peace NGOs is the prohibition of nuclear weapons.
So our message as physicians is that we have to create awareness, and that's what we did. We published about the humanitarian and medical consequences of nuclear weapons explosions and of nuclear war. Imagine if a city with 1 million or more inhabitants is destroyed by a nuclear weapon, no ambulance available. So there is really no medical help. The only thing we can do as doctors is to call for prevention, and that means to call for a prohibition of these nuclear weapons. We started with publications, with international conferences, with sending delegations to headquarters of nuclear weapon states. Nuclear famine, it's a consequence of the fallout of soot and dust of a nuclear war. In poor regions of the world, millions, up to 1 or 2 billion of people could suffer from hunger as a consequence of that war. Another reason is the longer nuclear weapons exist, the easier or the more likely it is that will get in hands of terrorists and will be used by terrorists.
We also arrange opportunities for high school students to speak with Habakusha and have dialogue. We've now done 4 exhibitions that focus on nuclear disarmament.
One of the actions we are doing here in Vienna to create awareness about the nuclear question is the Genbaku no Hi ceremony.
To strengthen their movement, the doctors of IPPNW, together with other NGOs, founded ICAN, an international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons worldwide.
Through the movement of the humanitarian conferences from Oslo, from Nayarit and from Vienna, more awareness has been created.
Besides their voice for a ban of nuclear weapons, the doctors of IPPNW work on the problem of small arms, which kill about 500,000 people each year.
We can do studies which show the influence of the arms trade on communities and on public health. I led a project of IPPNW Zambia and Austria, where we could gain a lot of such data. We could also strengthen the victim assistance in this area. I'm engaged in the arms trade treaty process, which should tame the arms trade worldwide, and we show our data on public health, on the influence of the arms trade on communities. Diplomats continuously emphasize how important the input of physicians is, who see the effects of armed violence every day on their patients. The weapons and the small arms, they are produced in the rich northern countries, and the weapons are sold to countries where civil wars and where gang violence takes place.
The physicians see the need of a strong arms trade treaty,
which prevents people from being killed and being injured.
What IFOR has done all through its existence, more or less, is training people from the base of society in dealing with conflicts non-violently and in direct non-violent action to change situations of violence and of injustice.
During the late 1990s, paramilitary groups were very active in Urabá region, which is in the north of Colombia, and several communities, mainly small-scale farmers in the areas, then kind of opted out of violence and decided to create their peace communities. Protective accompaniment is often referred to an international non-violent intervention to protect without arms local human rights organizations, communities, or individual human rights defenders who try to create a more just and peaceful world.
Our task is to be present. The second task is to report and testify, to raise a voice for those people who otherwise do not have a voice. The themes are peace and justice. For example, we accompany shepherds. We have a camera, and if something happens, we can record that. People need solidarity, so they do not lose hope.
Peace movements and organizations are not governments or states, but rather they contribute to politics through dialogue and cooperation, but also through nonviolent resistance when necessary. Their power does not come from arms or money, but rather from a strong concern for human dignity, human rights, and human security, and from direct contact with those affected most by wars and violence.